And we begin right here in the capital, Nairobi. Now, with the declaration, the Africa Climate Summit concludes tonight, and Africa has obviously declared the resolutions after this conference. Let's take a look.
The climax of the three-day African Climate Summit, after what President William Ruto termed successful deliberations on Africa's position in the climate action agenda, songs of joy signaling breakthrough and consensus.
Africa Climate Summit is both a demonstration of the unwavering collective commitment of the people of Africa to their vision to make humanity's first home here in Africa a land of abundant potential, limitless opportunity, and the possibility of shared prosperity.
7 declarations were adopted unanimously from the summit that included commitments by the private sector, the children, the youth, governments, civil society groups, and the indigenous people. The clergy was not left behind.
Call that you accelerate meaningful and impactful sustainable development projects and benefit sharing. Establish Indigenous Peoples Climate Resilience Fund to accelerate the realization of sustainable development goals and to mitigate against the impact of climate change on Indigenous peoples, in particularly women, children, youths, and persons with disability.
We as people of faith that are often the first respondents in crisis situations, including the ones that are caused by climate change, are wrestling with the question whether there is honesty and truthfulness in the entire process of negotiation.
Those who have caused the climate crisis to honor their commitment by deeply cutting their emissions, because that is where the biggest problem is, and ceasing from transferring the burden of action to the victims of their actions in the name of forced solutions to climate change.
The delegates committed to develop and implement policies, regulations, and incentives aimed at attracting local, regional, and global investment in green growth and inclusive economies. Meanwhile, delegates at the African Climate Summit have called upon the global community to act with urgency in reducing emissions, fulfilling its obligations, keeping past promises, and supporting the continent in addressing climate change.
The declaration we make to the world today defines and amplifies the African position on the way forward in climate action and the fundamentals that the international community must attend to in order to ensure that humanity's economic and ecological imperatives are effectively, coherently, and sustainably achieved.
As the African Climate Summit comes to a close, all eyes will now be on the industrialized nations if indeed they'll honor the $100 billion compensation on loss and damage, which will go a long way in boosting Africa's green energy transition agenda. Purity Museonzu.
All right, we're still at